fellow Americans.
Let's talk about the situation at the border. We've seen a huge surge in migrants crossing the border since January. The number of children in custody higher than it was than its 2019 peak during the Trump administration. Your colleague Veronica Escobar of Texas called the conditions there unacceptable. She was there on Friday. Is she right? What more must be done?
Actually, the facts are these. There are more children, about 600-700 more children, unaccompanied children, coming over the border. This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that in the children's interest. I'm so pleased that the president, as a temporary measure, has sent FEMA to the border in order to help facilitate the children going from one 72-hour issue into where they are cared for as they are transferred into family homes or homes that are safe for them to be.
And I have to confess, I knew nothing about their suffering until 2021, when I volunteered to help the Biden administration with the crisis at the southern border. As part of Operation Artemis, I was deployed to the Pomona Fairplex Emergency Intake Site in California to help HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, reunite children with sponsors in the United States. I thought I was going to help place children in loving homes. Instead, I discovered that children are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with recruiting in home country, smuggling to the U.S. border, and ends when ORR delivers a child to a sponsor. Some sponsors are criminals and traffickers and members of transnational criminal organizations. Some sponsors view children as commodities and assets to be used for earning income. This is why we are witnessing an explosion of labor trafficking. Now, whether it's intentional or not, it could be argued that the United States government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation that is run by bad actors seeking to profit off of the lives of children.
Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. My husband is a combat veteran. He's deployed now. The last thing I want him or any of his military brothers and sisters to do is to go to war.
But I think it is time to give the Ukrainians more help hitting these bases inside Russia.
One of the reasons that the administration has hesitated is because they believe it will escalate things even further with Russia pull the U.S. further in. Why not? Why do you think that's a good idea?
Because it's Russia that has escalated this war. Russia has learned how to pull its forces back out of the range where we have allowed Ukraine to use our weapons and get our support.
American media outlets have spoken to scores of people from Ukraine, and they have done scores of interviews with Ukrainian President Zelensky. We ourselves have put in a request for an interview with Zelensky, and we hope he accepts. But the interviews he's already done in the United States are not traditional interviews. They are fawning pep sessions specifically designed to amplify Zelensky's demand that the U.S. enter more deeply into a war in Eastern Europe and pay for it. That is not journalism. It is government propaganda. Propaganda of the ugliest kind, the kind that kills people. At the same time, our politicians and media outlets have been doing this, promoting a foreign leader like he's a new consumer brand. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin. Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. Americans have a right to know all they can about a war they're implicated in, and we have the right to tell them about it because we are Americans too.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III.
A U.S. official has confirmed to CBS News President Biden has given authorization for Kyiv to use U.S.-supplied long-range weapons to strike deep into Russian territory.
I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
I'm not going to get into commenting on that.
You seem deeply uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI does not and has no interest in
You won't answer the
protecting
question
anyone
about whether or not
politically.
that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing about you.
British police came into the embassy and arrested.
After a long flight from the UK, Julian Assange's day began on the island of Saipan, a tiny territory chosen because it's the closest US court to Australia. This normally quiet courthouse, swarming with reporters, as the WikiLeaks founder arrived flanked by former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd.
Individual used an AR-15 in order to act out his assassination attempt. An AR-15 has a range of about 400 to 600 yards. My question, why is the Secret Service protective perimeter shorter than one of the most popular semi-automatic weapons in the United States?
There are a number of weapons out there with a number of ranges. Again, an advance was completed. The determination of the perimeter, I'm not going to speak to specifics, but there are a number of factors that are taken into account when we determine our perimeter. Some of it has to do with terrain, some of it has to do with buildings, some of it has to do with assets and resources that are available.
What I'm hearing is that a perimeter was not established outdoors in an outdoor venue that would prevent an AR-15, which is one of the most common weapons used in mass shootings, from being able to be within the range of Secret Service protection.
Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
So what is the threat to democracy? People on both sides, people in power, saying out loud that they want to control what you get to hear and see. It is real, it is a threat, and it is happening and growing. And I'll tell you what, punishing thought is on the agenda. And I just heard it from someone who's not a kook, not Alex Jones, not Tucker Carlson, one of the most sober and intelligent politicians of our time, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I think it's important to indict the Russians, just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg admitted that the Biden administration repeatedly pressured Meta to censor content, including information about Hunter Biden, and Zuck admitted that he also regrets complying with these demands. In a letter to the House Judiciary Committee Chairman, Representative Jim Jordan, Zuck writes, quote, "The FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it."
You know, you do some tweets that seem to be, or at least give support to some who would call others conspiracy theories.
Well, yes, but I mean, honestly, you know, some of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be true.
Which ones?
Well, like the Hunter Biden laptop.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am in awe of Ms. Jankowicz. When the department picked her, did it know that she had said that Mr. Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation? Did it know that she had vouched for the veracity of the Steele dossier?
Senator, let me repeat myself and add an additional fact. One, we do not discuss internal hiring processes.
I think you've got no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want you guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech.
To be a conspiracy theorist is to have been right all along, despite the efforts of the paid-for liars. And it's also to be demonstrably well ahead of the gullible, still believing in smoke and mirrors. Conspiracy theorist was first used by the CIA to shut down those who doubted the official line about the murder of John F. Kennedy, that fishy old tale about a lone shooter and a magic bullet, and then that lone shooter being shot by another lone shooter before he could talk. That was in the 1960s, and from then, the label conspiracy theorist worked for decades as the means to make thinking people too scared to speak when they smelt a rat. Let 2024 be the year of clearing out the rubbish, the trash, the long overdue year when the past or sell-by-date labels, conspiracy theorist among them, are cast into the dustbin of history.
Wake up, everybody. Welcome into Redacted on this Thursday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
Good to see all of you. We got a jam-packed show for you on this Thursday, so we're not going to really waste any time at all today. We're going to try to go through it as much as we can. We're watching minute by minute right now with some breaking news about to hit, a major publication about to publish some new information on Jeffrey Epstein. There was speculation online that it would be about Trump. Other sources saying and telling us here at Redacted that's not going to be in that way. It'll be actually about Israel itself. So was Epstein tied to Mossad? Do we have confirmation of that? All right, we are back. I guess they don't like us talking about this today. I don't know exactly what's going on. But anyway, we're going to continue here. Sorry about that little glitch. I don't know what's happening here. But also, we're going to talk about Portugal. The country now saying we're done with this illegal immigration. They had one of the most laughable immigration policies in all of Europe. It's, led to basically the destruction of Portugal. Parliament has now voted to reverse that. We're going to deep dive all of that and more today. So welcome into the show. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Let us know where you're joining us from around the world. Yes, we have a very busy show for you today. So let's dive into it. Let's get right to the very latest on this. So is the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad blackmailing Trump? And what connections does Epstein have to Mossad? All over the internet today, a major publication is set to publish a bombshell on Epstein. People were speculating that it had to do specifically with Trump. Sources close to Redacted have told us that no, that's not the story. The story is Israeli intelligence and Epstein. So we're watching that minute by minute. We will bring that to you as soon as we have it. Meanwhile, others are saying, in fact, a friend of the show, Judge Napolitano, Andrew Napolitano, just dropped this bombshell saying that, yes, it's true that Mossad is, in fact, blackmailing President Trump in order really to keep the Epstein files from coming out. Watch Judge Napolitano.
I think Trump's name is on the list. I think Mossad knows it. I think Mossad told their American stenographer, who happens to be the director of the CIA, who takes down and regurgitates everything Mossad told him. And I think that stenographer whispered it into the president's ear. And he's terrified that this will come out because he knows it will be the beginning of the end, whether there's a Republican Congress or a Democrat Congress. That's what I honestly believe has happened. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the files.
Also, ex-Israeli spy Ari Ben-Menashe, just a short time ago, now says that, yes, Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. He is an ex-Israeli spy, of course, working for Mossad, and says, yes, this is true, that Epstein was working for Mossad. Watch.
Because the mainstream media narrative is, we don't know about Ghislaine Maxwell. She denies all wrongdoing. And basically, Epstein was a pedophile and was a successful banker. He made lots of money, and he was a criminal pedophile, and he died in a jail awaiting justice. That's the story. Nothing to do with Mossad, nothing to do with Israeli military intelligence, nothing to do with Israel.
Yeah, they would deny it. It's a real bad story, and they would deny it. But he was put straight with the Israelis by Robert Maxwell at the time, a military intelligence, and started working there for them.
Started working there for them. He was placed there specifically through the hands of Robert Maxwell, of course. Harrison Berger's an independent journalist, host of No Tribe on YouTube. He joins us now to break this all down as we're watching this breaking news happening in real time. Harrison, welcome back to the show. Good to see you. What do you make of these connections to Mossad?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see you again. Well, obviously, I would say that the most obvious connection is with Ghislaine Maxwell. Her father, as that former Israeli spy just mentioned, was Robert Maxwell, who was this, British media oligarch, staunch Zionist, and someone who Seymour Hersh and Gordon Brown, among others, separately accused of being an Israeli spy. And immediately after it became basically publicly known that Robert Maxwell was probably this Israeli spy, Maxwell just suddenly and mysteriously died. Further, there's the question of Epstein's source of wealth. It's all very mysterious, but it appears to be with these Zionist oligarchs. I mean, I'd say particularly Les Wexner, who founded this mega group, this Israel lobby group, which their purpose, they said in the 1990s, was to influence U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, and that's exactly what they did. Murray Farmer, who's one of Epstein's first accusers, said that Les Wexner abducted her, that he trapped her in his compound for Epstein and Maxwell to sexually assault. And then there's this question of, how Epstein was able to evade what would kind of typically be this harsh sentence for his crimes. And I say typically because there's many other powerful people that have been caught doing exactly the same thing as Epstein. And, they've been justly punished. I think Dennis Hastert is a good example of that. But Epstein, for some reason, was able to serve this very light sentence and walk away in this very unexplainable way. And according to Vicky Ward, which she actually just reaffirmed yesterday to Megyn Kelly, Alex Acosta, the U.S. attorney that was prosecuting the Epstein case, was told that Epstein belonged to intelligence and basically that he should leave it alone. And then there's obviously this strange relationship between, Epstein and Ehud Barak and Les Wexner, actually. Barak was practically roommates with Epstein at one point, basically visiting his New York City mansion that he owned all the time, at least 30 times, even investing in an Israeli surveillance company with Jeffrey Epstein. And at the same time, he was receiving all this money from the Wexner foundations for just these really unclear reasons. And then finally, there's, all the surveillance cameras and these tapes that were wired in to each of Epstein's properties that were exactly what one might expect to find in a, CIA intelligence operation. That's by no means an extensive list of the evidence, but it's certainly enough for people to say, as Tucker did, that, most people in D.C. do believe that Epstein was this Israeli intelligence asset. And the denials from the Trump administration, they're not even denying it, actually. They won't even address that question, which makes it, even more mysterious.
Yeah. Now, so if you and I can see this, anyone who looks can see all of these connections. What do you think then would be the possible motivation for the Trump administration trying to bury this?
I mean, the most obvious one is that this does not look good for Israel. Israel obviously doesn't have good public support in the United States right now. The problem is that it's bad for Trump. At least 40% of Republicans are satisfied, but, most are not. And the majority of the public isn't satisfied, according to the latest Quinnipiac poll that I just saw yesterday. So it's obviously to protect Israel. We know, first of all, that, Trump receives all this money from the Adelsons, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's practically his base. And so for Trump to go against Israel at this time, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Of course, you're not really supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to say that, Trump, that Epstein was probably this Israeli intelligence asset, because as Tucker Carlson said, that's a naughty thing to do. But again, the floodgates are open, and this is what much of the public believes. And I'd say the other aspect to this for why he can't really reveal it is because, Epstein, when he lived his life, he was practically untouchable. Which is what makes this disclosure even more difficult. It's just how well connected Epstein was to, Wall Street and Silicon Valley and all these other major financial institutions. Actually, Ron Wyden said yesterday that the government has possession of all these secret bank filings, at least, $1.5 billion in suspicious wire transfers that Epstein made involving some of the most powerful oligarchs in the world. And that, of course, hasn't been revealed at all. Trump says that the people who have questions about this are basically deplorable. So I think just the connections that Epstein had to those powerful people and how it would expose Israel just kind of explains why none of this is coming out.
And do you put any stock into Trump's personal exposure?
I mean, there's all those videos that are really strange. They were published by NBC in 2019 when this first broke. I remember it. All those pictures, not just of Trump, but Bill Clinton too, receiving massages from some of the victims. It's all very possible that he's implicated. But I'm someone who, again, won't say you're guilty unless you've had a trial. Sure. But it is very suspicious and probably likely, I'd say. Yeah.
Speaking of trials, speaking of special prosecutions, we just learned from the White House, and the White House just confirmed that President Trump is not going to appoint a special counsel to look into this. So just, throw that away, get that out of there. And a lot of these connections have been reported for a couple of years. Whitney Webb and her great book, One Nation Under Blackmail, in volume 2, I believe. She really dove deeply into Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, as a known intelligence asset. She has maintained not necessarily Mossad, but Israeli intelligence, army intelligence connections. And then, of course, then others have covered this as well. We've covered this for years here on the show. Candace Owens has done a great job in all of this. But now we're hearing this rumblings that, a mainstream publication is about to kind of drop the bombshell. It's like, all of us in independent media, we've been covering this story for a couple of years.
I had the same question. What makes them all of a sudden want to do journalism?
Yeah, now they're suddenly going to do some journalism.
Well, I think maybe they're doing it now because they think that it's against Trump. That's why you see people like Hakeem Jeffries saying that now for the first time as well. They couldn't give a damn about it when the Democrats were in charge, and people like Bill Clinton were the targets. But you raise a very important point, which is by what when you mentioned Whitney Webb, which is just that this is not the first time at all that Israel has been accused of blackmailing the United States. And actually, I want to mention another academic, Aaron Good. He's done a lot of great work on this. So has Peter Dale Scott. But these allegations just really go back decades. Israeli and deep state kind of collaboration for this sort of clandestine activity. And Israel has, of course, admitted to some of it, but their official position, if you listen to them, it's repeated by Israel's, most loyal and devoted defenders like Ben Shapiro. It's that Israel officially stopped spying on the United States in the 1980s. But, everyone knows that's not true.
Yeah.
I interviewed John Kiriakou, you did as well, and he explains that the American security state considers Israel to be one of their top national security threats on par with Russia and China. And, his testimony is echoed by, the NSA internal documents that were published by Edward Snowden and Glenn Greenwald, which said the same thing, that, our strategic ally just aggressively spies on us all the time and is one of the top counterintelligence threats to the United States. And when I say this goes back decades, I really do mean it. The ADL was spying on Palestinian activists, writing dossiers for the Israeli government, working with the LAP to do it, through the 70s and 80s. It was unveiled in the 1990s. And then there's the allegations about another president, not this one, Trump, but Clinton. The Clinton administration publicly complained that they believed that the U.S. national security had been infiltrated by foreign spies, that they gave it the code name Mega, which actually is the name of Wexner's Israel lobby group. And the FBI put out this notice in 1997, and they said, yeah, we're being spied on, and they're probably giving it to Israel. And then you look at, too, Monica Lewinsky's testimony that she gave in 1999, I believe, to the Senate when she was deposed after the Lewinsky affair. And she was saying, yeah, Bill Clinton believed that a foreign embassy was spying on us. And, neocons like Daniel Halper have echoed those accusations separately as well, that the Israelis had all these tapes on Lewinsky, and that's why he signed the Iraq Liberation Act just very suddenly, starting a war in that country. exactly what Israel wanted us to do. And so, again, I think there's stuff there. It should be looked at. And you're right. No one has any questions about it. You guys do. But, corporate media doesn't want to look at all. But it's all right in plain sight.
Well, I mean, Ted Cruz, our loyalist to Israel, says we just spy on each other. That's just how it goes. That was his, so, I mean, this narrative that they don't spy on us is just laughable. Even their loyal puppy dog admitted they do, and he's fine with that. So there you go. There's your answer to that, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think would happen if there was irrefutable evidence then that there is this Mossad connection? And what could it possibly look like, the evidence?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it could be because this stuff hasn't really been revealed before. It's kind of hard to prove. Whenever these intelligence agencies do this sort of criminal activity, they use shell companies. There's actually very great journalism about this. Like Seth Harp is a reporter at Rolling Stone that's uncovered a bunch of that, where CIA links to drug groups and whatnot, chartering different flights. Sometimes they'll match the tail of the plane to planes that the CIA used during the extraordinary rendition program, and they'll match it to cartel members and that kind of stuff. So that's the sort of evidence that you see for sort of criminal activity from the clandestine state. But the problem is it's all done in secret. And this has just been the problem, I think, since the war on terror and really this era that's started in the 1990s, where we know very little about what our government does, and they know absolutely everything about us. They have Palantir lists on us, and we can't even get any information about this Epstein list that they've had in their possession for 5 years. So I have no idea.
Yeah. So was Epstein a powerful Mossad agent for Israel running a pedophile child trafficking operation to blackmail people? But
the questions are incriminating enough. So even one answer, I feel like, would help us make a strong connection. So here we go. We're waiting.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on this. Harrison, great to see you as always. Thank you for your reporting on this. We're going to wait to see what mainstream media publication drops this bombshell in short order and what it actually entails.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thanks, Harrison.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about how Europe has bankrupted itself with this massive new spending package. There's no Congress to push back. Ursula von der Leyen says, you'll pay more taxes, Europeans. You're going to be pissed when you see this, but you're going to see it anyway. We're also going to talk about Portugal deciding they actually don't want to implode their own country with mass immigration. They've had open arms for over a decade, but now they're saying this actually might not be working for us. So we're going to talk about that. Plus Israel bombing a Catholic church and saying that was an oops. Oops. A lot of oopses from the Israeli army, but, we're letting them do it. So oops. Sorry, God. What? You're making a big...
No, I was going to wait till you're done before I talked.
Your turn.
No, I like this in the chat. VK Lander says Epstein performed the function of the Mandarin in Iron Man. So he was just like a front... He's just a front. A lot of people believe that he was just a front for what's so much deeper,
And that's the thing is like it's like you look at like why they won't release this list. And I think it's because that the stuff, the blackmail they gathered on everybody still exists. So it's not like because Epstein is dead, so is the threat. It's,
right.
It's like, and so I think that's that's what's behind it.
And given that what he presumably did was quite effective, there must be a new Epstein. This must still be happening. I want to know who that is. Let's pull that thread to see who is currently suffering, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, we're going to get to that. But before we do, Clayton's going to tell us about our friends over at Soul.
I am indeed, because are you sick of drinking your calories or waking up hungover? Having some drinks can be fun, but there's an alternative that lets you feel great in the moment and the next morning without feeling drunk, feeling awful. And that's where our friends over at Soul. I want you to go to their website because you can get 30% off your order, but just check out what they've got. They've got their out-of-office gummies and they have their out-of-office drinks. I'm telling you, these drinks are fantastic. I enjoy them quite a bit. They're very nice. You get if you want, after like a long day, you want to enjoy the summer sun, but you don't want to feel hungover. It gives you the perfect buzz. You just feel great, perfect vibe, and you will not feel hungover. I'm telling you, go check out their out-of-office drinks. And if you want to sleep well, you can try their CBD products designed to boost your mood, help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, enhance your creativity, and relaxation. And if you like their out-of-office gummies, you've got to try their out-of-office beverage. I'm telling you, it's refreshing, alcohol-free, perfect for summer sipping in the hot weather. Have so many amazing products. Get 30% off. We're big fans of these guys around here. I have a little drink refrigerator filled with them because I really enjoy them. So go to getsoul.com. Get 30% off your order. That's getsoul.com. Get 30% off your order right now. So our thanks for them supporting Redacted. We appreciate it. A lot of people in the chat have a lot of... Samuel said $5 Rumble Rant says, big fan of the great show. Please have Myron Gaines on Israel on your show. Okay. I don't know. I have to look into that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I always appreciate those kinds of suggestions. They usually are fantastic. So thank you.
Palmetto Mike says, Pam Bondi needs to go. Keep the comments coming. And thank you for subscribing. By the way, if you do subscribe, your name will pop right up here at the bottom. So if you're not already a subscriber, I think your name will pop up. Welcome to the rebellion. That's what it'll say. So thank you.
Okay.
Let's talk Europe, shall we?
All right. Well, congratulations, Europe. Your taxes will go up for a massive new spending package unveiled by European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen. This is a €2 trillion spending plan for the next budget cycle. It's being marketed as strategic, but what it really is debt-fueled bureaucracy on steroids that will tax Europeans even more than they already are. €2 trillion is a 64% increase over the previous budget. This is one of the craziest things I have ever seen, and it's chock full of new taxes for Europeans that are already suffering from a crap economy. Wait till you see these new taxes. What they're calling it is own resources, as in you own it, Europeans. We're going to take it. Now, everyone knows that government spending leads to fueling inflation. That's not conspiracy. It's basic economics. Print more money, create more debt, drive prices up. That's why Europeans are already suffering after the COVID pandemic, which had all these social programs that Europeans are still paying for, plus a blank check obsession with Ukraine. And what is Brussels' solution? Double down. Spend more, borrow more. They're pushing this idea of resilience, strategic autonomy, while families struggle to afford groceries, utilities. Now, almost half of this €2 trillion will be borrowed by debt because they don't have it. On top of the fact that they're still paying that €750 billion pandemic debt. So they're saying now no higher national contributions, but it will lead to new taxes. So let's look at those. Now, keep in mind that Europeans are highly taxed in comparison to Americans. They spend 40% of their taxes of their 40% of their income on taxes. Well, that still leaves 60% of their money to tax, and the European Commission will do it. This money comes from what they call own resources. That means Europeans own it. We're going to take it. Here's how they present it. There'll be new taxes on carbon emissions, carbon imports, tobacco, uncollected e-waste, and even a corporate flat fee for companies doing business in Europe. There's also a new foreign traveler fee just to enter. But again, this is your money, your cost of living, your sovereignty, and they're taxing you into oblivion. Now, did you catch what I said? Uncollected e-waste? This is extra crazy. It's a new tax on electronics that you don't recycle. So each European country will track every electronic device, and if it does not get recycled, they will tax it at €2 per kilogram. So, like,
they're going to track every electronic device?
That's what they're saying. They're saying that each EU country has to track every device. So, and the taxing it per kilogram is weird. So like in our house, if we have 4 iPads that maybe weigh a kilogram, then that's a €2 tax that if we were still living in Portugal, that Portugal would have to pay. into the European Commission, and then that tax would be passed down to us. So literally, you're just taxing people that you think don't recycle. Go ahead, Philip.
So, like, if I'm a citizen of like Germany, and I buy an iPad, am I like phoning up Ursula von der Leyen, going, "Hey, Ursula, just letting you know, I have an iPad. It weighs this much, and then what? I'll call you back in a couple years when I recycle it. Thanks." Like, how is this working?
And then what if you gift it to someone?
That's what I was saying.
Question.
What if you sell it on Facebook Marketplace? You have to tell the government that you've done this now, or else the government will slap a tax on that, thinking that that never came into a recycling. Now, we will go into FINAC and recycle. There's like a recycling bin, right, that you put some of your electronics in, like an old Kindle or what have you. That's not tracked right now, but now it will have to be. They can't just take things, they have to know.
If there's one thing Europe needs, it's more bureaucracy and paperwork. Right. Europeans love paperwork, and that's why nothing happens in Europe, and it's stuck to it's 300 years ago, because they have so much paperwork and bureaucracy. Now you're going to add this layer of on top of it.
Well, that's a valid point. This is going to be really hard for a country like Portugal to do. They're now going to have to track their citizens, how many devices they have, and then track when they come back. They don't have the bandwidth for that, but it also opens the door to mass surveillance of consumption. They have to do it now, right? And then you have to prove. So, and why just this item? Why just electronics? Like, what's next? Your socks? Then you're going to have to, okay, well, Natalie bought those socks 2 years ago, should be ready to recycle. There's no proof that she did, or did she upcycle it or not? Then there's a tax.
Like I said on Twitter, what about the single socks, the missing single socks that everybody
Yeah, what happens then, right? Or what if you recycle only one AirPod because the other one just bounced away from your life, right?
Which happens, all
the time. And again, what if you give it to your mom, your electronics? Then the government has to know that device now is owned by your mom and track it from her. This is wild. It's the craziest thing. But of course, von der Leyen is very much, we need this because Russia. Of course, Europe's military-industrial complex is a toddler compared to the American one, but they have ambition. Here's how they lay this out. They sell it as, we're spending 5 times more on defense, but don't worry, it'll create jobs. This is them using the broken window fallacy, the idea that breaking a window is good for the economy because someone gets paid to fix it. It's not true, but in Europe, they're saying war equals growth. So will this actually bring prosperity to Europeans? Well, not likely if it predictably comes with more austerity, inflation, and deeper control of you, the Europeans. Take a look from this website. Again, this is the European website announcing this. It says they're really into agriculture. They mention fisheries and stuff, but also social inclusion. What does farming have to do with social inclusion in this? I guess if you ask the Dutch farmers, it means they take your farm.
I was just going to bring up, like, what does this mean for the Dutch farmers then? Like, are they good now? Like, did they get this memo? Did they recycle them? What is going on with the Dutch farmers?
Exactly. No, especially they lost those farms, a lot of them. The government just took it or put caps on how much they can produce. I guess that was in the name of climate and the excuse that it affects everybody. So you see how, like, every innovation that they're saying, like, we're education for social cohesion. I mean, given how Europe tracks its citizens, I'm not thrilled with their idea of education or cohesion, but okay. This bill is just so expensive and, so much for NGOs. And it's, what it is. It's a globalist dream. But here's the kicker. Europeans don't even get a say. There's no Congress to block this. So Ursula von der Leyen wants it. She gets it. This is truly new taxes without representation, because no European citizen can push back on this. You cannot. It's just, here you go. There's some new taxes. Live with it. Carbon fees, e-waste levies, corporate surcharges, all imposed, meaning that and of course, each EU state will pass that cost down. So everything will get more expensive, and you can do nothing without meaningful consent. Europeans are just stuck with it. So it's not really democracy. It's technocratic rule wrapped in this sustainability level. It's absolutely crazy. And yeah, Europeans, you're the one paying for it. So let me know what you think of this.
You know, I
in
wish
our chat people are saying thank you for covering EU news, and because they're like, we don't get this news in Europe. It's suppressed from us. We don't get this. We don't get these updates. We don't get this news. So you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, David.
I wish the government would get the U.S. government would get this excited and do the same thing for military weapons and stuff we send. You know, tracking that stuff.
Track them.
I think
Track them.
Yeah, because we send them to Ukraine, they wind up in the hand of Mexican drug cartels, and then they're used against us in the United States. Isn't that amazing how that works?
Right. Let me get this straight. You can track my phone, but you can't track a bomb. So, I mean, I don't know how every European country pushes back and says, we actually can't do this. We can't track everybody's iPad, except for the fact that they want to. Right.
I mean,
I
imagine
guess I have to track your phone now. I have to track your location. I don't know where that phone went, so I need a pinger on it at all times.
I need mass surveillance. I mean, it's coming to the United States too, as part of this big, beautiful bill. You know, it's all in there. So all of the mass surveillance in the U.S. is coming too. So we were like sort of laughing about it being in Europe. I mean, sad, but it's coming here too. Go ahead, Philip.
I was just gonna say I feel like what they probably are doing is they'll just track, like, just so that they make sure they screw everybody over and nobody can actually comply. They'll just track everything that's sold in that country and then just be like, okay, well, here's how many you recycled, and so keep it simple so it's not on an individual basis, but so it doesn't matter if they're doing it or not. Like if something gets lost, they're still gonna get their money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Except again, pretty sure this opens the door to actual tracking of devices. That there's no way they're not going to do that, given that they've just put it into law.
Yeah. All right, we got a lot more news to get to here on your Thursday. Busy show. We're going to talk about Israel bombing a Catholic church, the very church that the former Pope used to call on a regular basis to see how they were doing in that church and have conversations with them. That church bombed. And they say, oopsie, it wasn't our fault. It was just a mistake. Nothing to see here. But of course, the systematic targeting of Christians is happening. Going after and bombing holy sites, of course, is happening. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Portugal taking on the globalists, finally saying enough is enough. Our immigration policy in Portugal is collapsing our country. Parliament there voting in a big way. Of course, the mainstream media in Portugal is not covering the story at all. It's kind of funny to see like CNN Portugal not covering the story, but it's a huge story and is really about the collapsing economy and what's happening there with the immigration. So we'll talk about that. But first,
we want to tell you about IQBAR because they make some pretty great protein bars that are really great to keep you physically and mentally fit. It is totally free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners for a natural anytime snack. And they have 9 delicious flavors, including the mint chocolate chip, chocolate sea salt, banana nut, peanut butter chip. That's my favorite. So there are over 20,000 5-star reviews on their site and counting. More people than ever are starting their days on the right foot with IQBAR's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. And in fact, I'm never without these little hydration mixes that they make because my son is a migrainer. And so a lot of times if we don't have salt with us, I keep these in my purse and it helps him balance his electrolytes. If you haven't seen my interview about migraines on this channel, please seek it out because there's a lot of novel information about that. So I carry this for, sort of all around benefit for all of us and our family during travel.
I keep it in my car. Yeah.
We always have these with us. So check out their buffet of offerings. If you go to, let's see, what is the site? If you text Redacted to 64,000, you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. So just text that number and then you'll get a link to buy it for yourself. And again, we have the ultimate sampler packet and there's something for everybody in our family of 5. We actually do use this. So text 64000 to get 20% off all IQBAR products plus free shipping. Message and data rates apply. And again, it is texting 64,000 to get 20% off all IQBAR products, and you will likely enjoy them like our family does.
All right. And just a request, could you please store them separate from the beef bouillon packs?
David came over our house and he tried to eat a beef jerky, and I had some of these powder packets, and he grabbed the wrong thing, got in his car, and was driving away and got the powder all over it, and he thinks it's my fault. We've been having an argument.
Clearly, it's your
He
fault.
doesn't like how I organize my pantry.
That's hilarious. Covered in beef bouillon powder. No, that would have been better.
Pizza loved
Bears
me when
would
I
have been
got home.
chasing you.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. Israel bombed a Catholic church this week, the Holy Family School in Gaza, which is a compound run by the Catholic Church, was sheltering hundreds of civilians, many of them children, when Israeli airstrikes hit the site. Photos and reports are confirming there are 3 dead now as a result of this. The Vatican News published this. The Holy Family Church, the only Catholic church in Gaza, was struck by an Israeli shell on Thursday morning, resulting in several injuries, including the parish priest, Father Gabriel Romanelli. Cardinal Pisabala, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, told Vatican News that 4 people were seriously wounded, of whom 2 are facing life-threatening injuries. I think we now know that 3 are now dead. We must first understand what happened, he wrote, but what must be done to protect our people, seek to ensure that these things do not happen again, and then see what we should do, said Patriarch Pisabella. But certainly we will never leave them on their own.
Now, the Pope has posted this, saying that he's deeply saddened about the loss of life. He did not name Israel the way the Vatican News, the official Vatican News, did name Israel. The Pope did not. He said he was saddened about this. He renews his call for a ceasefire. He's asking for diplomacy. Now, the Israeli Defense Forces originally posted this, saying they are aware of damage caused to this church. The circumstances are under review. They say, I'm very curious about this word. The IDF makes every feasible effort to mitigate harm to civilians, including feasible. They reiterated that in their latest explanation.
So wait, when the IDF literally snipers are on the record targeting children, like who can shoot a child in the head, that's a feasible effort to not hit civilians.
I guess so. Well, they use that
big crock of shit.
I don't think I believe that, but here's their most recent explanation, saying their reports suggest that fragments from a shell fired during operational activity in the area hit the church mistakenly. The case is under review. And again, they repeat that the IDF makes every feasible effort to mitigate harm to civilians and religious structures. Okay.
Do we have pictures, by the way, of this church?
Yeah, we do. Here's what the church looked like prior to the bombing, and here's what it looks like now. So that this is accidental. This is what they're saying. And again, this is from fragments of a shell is what you're looking at. I mean, I'm no military expert, but okay, that looks to me like a direct hit. But okay. Joining us now is Father Robinson. He's a Catholic priest and outspoken advocate for justice in Palestine and for the people of Gaza. He's here to discuss what this attack means, not just for Gaza's Christians, but for the global church and our collective moral clarity. So thank you for joining us, Father. What do you make of the Pope's response to this and his maybe... I don't know, is it an omission that he didn't name the perpetrator?
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Just full transparency, I'm not in the jurisdiction of the Pope as an old Catholic, but I can say I think it was good to see a statement from him. It was firm, it was clear. Could it have gone further? Sure, but it's nice to see this happening. But of course, let's not forget, this is the very church that the former Pope had daily conversations with because it was in such dire peril being in the place that it's in. And I think a lot of this comes from the fact that we see everything in black and white these days. There's no nuance left in the conversation. And so this mass Zionism that's coming out of the West enables Israel to get away with murder, quite literally. When in fact, we should be sitting here saying, yeah, Hamas are evil. Hamas is abhorrent and should be quashed, yes. However, Israel cannot go around pointing guns at churches with impunity, for goodness sake, or innocent civilians or hospitals. There is a balance to be had here. It's not either you're Hamas or you're Israel. There is the side of humanity, which we should all be on as Christians.
Let's talk about the systemic targeting of Christians. I see a lot of people in our chat room are saying, Israel definitely wants Christians out. X-Sparky says Israel is definitely telling Christians, get out, to get out of this area. They do not want Christians there. We see the systemic targeting and killing of Christians, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in the West Bank. Can you talk a little bit about that and why the targeting of Christians is not getting enough attention around the world?
because it doesn't fit the narrative. Thank God for you guys that will expose and highlight these situations, because the legacy media won't expose it. Christians are the most persecuted people all around the world. Northern Syria, northern Nigeria, Artsakh, anywhere around that region of the world, Christians are being persecuted, oppressed, sometimes gang raped, sometimes killed. It's awful evils that are happening. And why isn't it addressed? Because it's Christians. And often it's either Jews or Mohammedans who are doing the perpetrating. If it's the other way around, if there are Jews or Mohammedans who are being persecuted by Christians, the mainstream media in the West will lap it up. They love that. They love to show us as the bad guys. But if it's in reverse, they won't even cover it, because it affects their narrative that everything white, everything Western, everything Christian is bad, everything brown, everything foreign, everything exotic is good. It's an absurd way to live, but thankfully I think it's on the way out, because it doesn't make any sense to ordinary people who know that Christ is true, Christ is good, Christ is beautiful, and therefore following him is a good thing. And anything that opposes him, such as Islam and Judaism, is not necessarily a good thing.
I want to get your take on this. I sat down with a friend of the show, Tucker Carlson, a few weeks ago. He's Christian, of course. He's, I think, Episcopalian. And we had a conversation about why Christians are being targeted specifically. And I said, why do you think that this is? And he said, well, I think it's clear. To your point, it doesn't fit the narrative. And it's the only peaceful religion, anti-war. And one way to continue your murderous ways and to continue these wars is to push Christians out of the conversation. And he believes that the New Testament will be something that they'll move to ban in the future because it's too focused on peace. What do you make of that?
Well, indeed, and they could do it very easily. They could say the New Testament is anti-Semitic, which is what they're doing. Anything Christian these days is either Islamophobic or anti-Semitic. I know street preachers who've been arrested in my homeland in Britain because what they're preaching offends people of the Mohammedan faith. It's like, well, so what? If the truth offends, so what? But as to your prior question, in why is it Christianity that is under attack? Well, it's because it's the truth. This isn't just politics. This isn't just Israel, Syria, Iran, Iraq. This is spiritual. We're in the midst of a spiritual war that's been going on long before we were around. And actually, what this is demonic interference. The devil hates Christ. The devil hates Our Lady. The devil hates the truth. He hates beauty. He hates goodness. And so these things will always be under attack wherever you see them. And the church represents all three of those transcendental values. And so, of course, the church is always going to be under attack in dark areas, in dark places, by dark people.
Now, I saw something on replies to the Pope on his X feed in this post we just showed you. People are saying you should have been there. You should have been more in touch with this this priest who runs this church. We know that Pope Francis was close to him. What does that mean? Did people expect Pope Leo to actually visit Gaza, which is an active war zone? Or what is that criticism? Can you explain it?
Yeah, I like what the Pope said in that he's spiritually close to them, and that's what a Pope should be. He should be there in prayer, on his knees for them and with them. What he shouldn't be doing necessarily is traveling to a war zone. It's unnecessary. And actually, we've gotten used to popes that travel all around the world and do the celebrity thing, the waving and the photo ops. That isn't what a Pope should be doing. He should be sitting on the seat of Peter as the spiritual advisor, as the universal Pope of the Church, and governing from the Vatican. He doesn't need to be doing the 21st century visitation thing that kings and prime ministers and presidents do, and show their face to pretend they care, because he should genuinely be caring, and to genuinely care is to be in prayer. I quite liked the
Eras
Latin
tour.
Patriarchs.
We don't need the Pope Eras tour right now.
Right, indeed. And the Latin Patriarch put out a very strong comment as well, saying that he's not actually sure if this was an accident, and so that was quite bold of him.
Right. Why again, is there any plausible way to explain this level of damage? I know you're not a military expert, but, what does your gut tell you whether or not this was deliberate or not?
We see cross, we shoot cross. People who are offended by the cross are going to shoot it if they're sitting in a tank and one confronts them, aren't they? And so the question we should be asking is who was in the tank, on whose orders did they fire, and hold them all accountable, because it is war. It is an act of war against the Christian faith. It's demonic, and we need to hold them reprehensible.
Father Robinson, great to see you as always. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your truth. We appreciate it as always.
God bless you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too. All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about Portugal taking on globalists, deciding we actually don't want to be this beacon of mass immigration. It's not good for our economy, like they told us it would be. We're also going to talk about Mark Carney's finances.
Shady finances.
Yeah, what's going on there? We have David Creighton. Haven't seen him in a while, so he's going to break down what he's been looking at. But first...
Yeah, but first, I mean, right now, we all know the cost of war, cities being leveled, all uncertainty right now, central bank digital currency being pushed on all of us. You saw Marjorie Taylor Greene sounding the alarm about this. I mean, the Genius Act now being pushed through so that we have, you know, again, it's all about control. It's all about surveillance. And of course, right now you see these central banks buying up as much gold and buying as much silver as they can. China is dumping U.S. treasuries, they're actually really moving in a big way to dump U.S. treasuries in a much faster way over the past few weeks, getting rid of the U.S. dollar. And that's why we're big proponents here on this show about investing in precious metals, making sure that you have some gold, some silver, whether it's stored in an offsite facility or in your own house, in your gun safe. Whatever it is, our friends at Lear Capital can help you do that. And they're happy to jump on the phone with you and just walk you through the process of owning gold and silver. What does that look like? Because they don't teach you how to do this. They teach you to invest in the US dollar. They teach you to buy stocks. That's all they want you to do. They teach you to get like a 401k plan where the 401k provider makes all these fees off of your money. It's all hidden, by the way. If you look at the fine print on your 401k, it's all hidden. They don't want you to have a self-directed IRA that you control. They don't want you to invest in gold and silver. They absolutely don't. And so that's why you should. Because when they want to keep you this hidden from all of us, this is exactly how you should be able to protect your families with things that they cannot control. And that's why we're big proponents of precious metals in this family. Gold, silver, real estate. Those are tangible assets that we believe in big time. And you can actually, if you have an old like 401k laying around, our friends at Lear Capital can actually convert that over to a self-directed IRA. And they're not even the custodian. I think they work with, is it Equity Trust?
That's what we
Equity Trust is the custodian, and it's really inexpensive. That's who we use. And you get to set it up with a self-directed IRA, and then you can invest in stocks, you can invest in silver, you can invest in gold, you can buy real estate inside of your self-directed IRA. But they'll never tell you that. Wall Street won't ever tell you that because they don't want you to do it. So call our friends at Lear Capital today. They will help you. Okay, they're a great American company. Get on the phone with them. 1-800-613-3557. Just have a conversation with them. Time to act now before the U.S. dollar. I mean, you see this fight going on with Jerome Powell and President Trump. I mean, it's a disaster. You want your family's future tied to that, to the U.S. dollar? Or just go to LearRedacted.com. That's the place to go, LearRedacted.com. And you can receive up to $15,000 in free bonus metals with a qualified purchase. All right, let's talk about Canada. We've been covering the UK. We're going to talk about Portugal. We've been talking about the United States. Now we're going to talk about the shady business dealings and shady finances of our friends to the north in Canada and Mark Carney. What is Mark Carney doing? How are his finances coming under scrutiny? And his, all of his sort of shady business dealings that has been spotlighted for quite a while. Our journalist friend David Creighton from Creighton's Right is joining us from Ottawa, Canada today. He's been watching.
He's not.
Oh, he's not.
Yeah, he just stepped off camera.
He was on the camera, and I think he stepped away. So why don't we talk about Portugal first?
Oh, he's back. Here he comes.
Oh no, he is. Sorry, we threw him a curveball and moved him up a little in our show. So we are going to do that.
I think we're right on time. Okay, let's see if David's back.
He's back.
He's back.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
All right.
There you are.
Hey, David. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you. So what is going on with Mark Carney? You've been watching this. It's not gotten as much attention in the mainstream media, but you've been on this story, thankfully. What have you found?
Well, Mark Carney, of course, was appointed as prime minister before he was elected as prime minister, with the help, we have to add, of Donald Trump. But he said he had 6 months to reveal his financial assets. And people kept saying, well, how much do you own? Where do you have it? So finally, last week, the time ran out. The clock ran out on the time he had legally as Canada's prime minister to announce how much money he actually owns. And it's not actually a dollar figure, but 103 different corporations of conflicts of interest. Mark Carney has his money invested in 103 different Canadian companies. Plus, he's invested 500 companies that are U.S. and international. So you put this all together and you say, how can a prime minister possibly govern the country with that many conflicts of interest? And it's finally resonating, believe it or not, after all this time and after so many people, well, so few people, myself included, and yes, the Conservative Party of Canada talked about this as well, but not enough during the election campaign. How does a guy with 103 companies under his belt govern the country? And the kicker here, Clayton and Natalie, is that the ethics commissioner, and this is just basically advice. This is not legal standing. This is just basically advice to the prime minister, that he can self-regulate. He can put a screen before himself and these companies that is composed of his closest advisors. So, I mean, it's hard to believe because this would never happen in the United States, which still has some semblance of order where these things are concerned. So Mark Carney's chief of staff is going to serve as the guy screening whether or not he can make a decision. And the ethics commissioner has basically said, you can self-regulate, Mark Carney. If you feel you're not in a good position to rule on a particular project, then you can make that call yourself. If you feel it's okay, that you're in the right frame of mind, go right ahead. And this is incredible because just before these tools, these goofs, took off the summer from Parliament, they're off right now until they come back sometime in September. They passed a bill that gave Mark Carney complete control over project management in this country. So Mark Carney makes all the decisions, all the calls about major government projects and every government project. And the Conservative Party of Canada was stupid enough to pass that because they said, well, at least it's going to get some movement in the country. Yeah, it's going to get movement towards cash, towards Mark Carney and his friends. And that's what this guy has been about his entire career, whether as the bank of the governor of Canada, or whether as the banker of the governor of England. It's always been grifting. It's always been about moving private sector money over to him as a public sector engagement actor. And if Canadians aren't outraged about this, they might as well be dead. I'm sorry, but it's that simple.
So these companies, what do we know about them? From what I understand from the ethics commissioner, that there are 2 environmental companies that he also has assets in and an advisory firm. So he's, of course, been pushing this big environmental push, green energy technology. So environmental companies. So, of course, this is going to benefit him, right? I mean, how can it not?
There are dozens, not just 2 or 3, dozens of green energy companies in this portfolio, dozens. And of course, number 1 and number 2 are Brookfield Asset Management, where he was the chairman. And I have to laugh at the reporting from CBC and these other state media. They said he was an employee of Brookfield Asset Management. He was the chairman. He was the guy that moved the headquarters from Ottawa to New York City just before he left. That's chairman, because he had to.
It's like mostly peaceful protests. Mostly peaceful protests. You know, he was just an employee. Yeah. He was the chairman. Okay, yeah. So if he's going to be making these decisions, and we know that he probably will be, and then if he's not going to self-regulate himself out of this, then a lot of these companies, you know, he's going to be standing to make millions of dollars off of these moves, whether it's in green energy, whether it's in housing, whether it's in finance. With hundreds of companies under his belt, he's going to stand to make millions of dollars off of this.
Well, that's precisely it, Clayton. And, he said he's put all of this into a blind trust, quote unquote. What does that mean? What is a blind trust? Well, according to Mark Carney, it means giving your friends and your closest associates access to your finances. It's not a blind trust. And I have to, I rarely ever think Pierre Poilievre hits back hard enough. And of course, the Conservative Party candidate leader, who's right now running in a by-election in Alberta to save his political skin. But Pierre Poilievre suggested the other day that maybe Mark Carney should sell off all of the assets and put them in a truly blind trust, meaning somebody he doesn't know and doesn't have breakfast with every day and doesn't have drinks with on the weekends. That would be a truly blind trust. But right now, it's not a blind trust. And what infuriates me most about this, Clayton, is not just the fact that he thinks he can get away with this. Mark Carney thinks Canadians, once again, are that stupid. Maybe they are, because they elected this guy as prime minister without even asking, how much money do you owe and who do you owe it with? But he thinks he can get away with this. And the ethics commissioner, so-called ethics commissioner in Ottawa, thinks this is good advice, that you can self-regulate with that kind of conflicts of interest. This is unprecedented in Canadian history. We have never had a prime minister with this much overlapping fiscal, incredible control. And it's going to be nothing but disaster if he's allowed to continue in office. This is going to be the most profit-driven prime minister in the history of Canada. And if you think that somehow Mark Carney is above all of this, he never has been. He has made perhaps hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't even know what the man's worth because he didn't have to say that, just where he's making his money. But he's made his money over the years as a corporatist through this corporate welfare that the left has continued to sell as somehow being free enterprise. And it's not capitalism to any extent of the rule. It's not free enterprise. It's corporate cronyism. And that's what Mark Carney is emblematic of. That's what he's the very embodiment of corporate cronyism. And if we are headed for very, very difficult times with this man.
I'll get you out of here on this, David. Mark Carney yesterday saying that he doesn't think that Canada will be able to avoid these tariffs with the United States. Where do things stand with all of that? And what would the avoidance look like if Carney was able to avoid these tariffs? What is this going to look like for Canadians?
Well, clearly Mark Carney is desperate for a crisis. And this is what makes this all the more disturbing, is that on the same week that he had to announce his fiscal irresponsibility, he also had to deal with Donald Trump coming by and saying 35% tariffs by August 1st. Now, Mark Carney said he was on vacation at the time, and we're not sure exactly where he was. He was in Australia, apparently, for some part of that vacation. And there are a lot of people out there, and I'm interviewing somebody later today who says he was at the Bohemian Grove during his vacation. But Mark Carney called an emergency meeting of the cabinet and the premiers, like the governors in the U.S. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but 10 days later. It's going to be next Monday before these guys finally get together for this emergency meeting. Is the tariff going to be catastrophic for Canada? Of course it will be. But Mark Carney's not about worrying about catastrophic occurrences for the country. He's worried about catastrophe for Mark Carney and what could possibly bring him down as the prime minister. So he's using the tariff crisis again, just like he did during the election campaign, to demonize Donald Trump, demonize the U.S. as the enemy of Canada, and Mark Carney as the defender of Canada Strong. He's using this so we won't look at the financial irresponsibility of this man, of a man with $103 corporations under his belt trying to be prime minister. That's the game plan for Mark Carney. It's all about distraction. It's sleight of hand. He's a magician. I've called him that several times in my Substack columns and other things I've written. He's a magician. When you're looking at his left hand, you don't see what the right hand is doing. And that's what Mark Carney's all about.
David Creighton writes at the Post Millennial, has a great YouTube channel as well. Follow him on X. Great to see you, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Clayton. Always a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about Portugal. We'll take some of your super chats. Again, if you subscribe to the channel, your name will pop up here on the bottom of the screen with the big alert there. So welcome to the rebellion. We're going to talk about Portugal closing its borders and fighting back against illegal immigration. Wonder if the rest of Europe will start to pay attention to what Portugal just did, because it was actually pretty dramatic. So we'll take you there and talk about that. But first,
we want to tell you about our friends over at Chapter, because if you are someone who needs to learn about getting the best Medicare plan, this is an ad for you, because we have friends that have actually used Chapter to choose the best Medicare plan for them and their family. And it works really well because they are not incentivized to push you into a plan where they get kickbacks like other companies have been, in fact, indicted for doing. Chapter was created because its founders realized that Medicare is so hard to understand, and that is by design. It's hard to figure out which plan will fit your purposes. That's why Chapter is there as an advocate for you, not the insurance company. They don't push high commission plans. They just search every single Medicare option to find what works for you. And with one 30-minute call, no stress, no sales pitch, you can walk away saving thousands with full coverage. And we've had actually friends who did exactly that. So people in this audience, in fact, have saved thousands working with Chapter. So make a free call. It costs you nothing. The average person who works with Chapter saves over $1,100. So if you're turning 65, or even if you're already on Medicare, you can still call them and see if what you've got is actually what works best for you. So call the number on your screen. It's 202-655-5811, or head on over to askchapter.org/redacted. One more time, that's askchapter.org/redacted.
Well, tonight, a stunning reversal is underway in Europe, and it's not coming from Hungary or Poland. This time, it's actually coming from Portugal, if you can believe this. The quiet little country that doesn't usually make a lot of waves. They just get bullied by the EU and Brussels, and they get told what to do, and they get their hands forced on a regular basis. But Portugal's standing up to the rest of Europe. The once wide open socialist darling of Southern Europe has just slammed the brakes on mass migration. So they're seeing what's happening in Spain, France, the UK. Frankly, Portugal cannot afford to let that happen, where you're seeing all of these riots. You're seeing, mass illegal immigration attacking innocent Spanish, like that elderly folks that were killed the other day in Spain. And now you have Spanish taking to the streets saying, get out. This is a Christian country. Get out of here. We want our borders closed. So, you see in the UK, of course, UK rapes are now through the roof. Crime is out of control. Civil services are being crushed to pay for illegal immigrants all across Europe, particularly in Portugal. Portugal, though, is saying enough. We're done. No more. Portugal's parliament just passed a landmark immigration reform bill that guts the so-called expressions of interest loophole. It's a policy that allowed illegal immigrants basically just to flood into the country and later then apply for legal status by showing that they had a job contract. So come on in, and use our services. But that's gone. Ciao. Até já. Bye-bye. No more. So just so you understand, Portugal's immigration scheme was one of the most ridiculous in all of Europe. You could just invade the country and then get legal status later on, and they'd give it to you, no questions asked about it. We saw it happening right before our eyes when we lived in Portugal for 5 years. It effectively turned Portugal into a magnet for unchecked migration, with tens of thousands of illegal immigrants gaming the system.
Even though it was really stinking hard for us to get residency, we worked our butts off to
isn't that amazing? We were legal immigrants. We came in legally, went through the whole process. We are
Portuguese residents.
Yeah, even though we live in the United States, but we have residency. But we had that. We had to go through the entire paperwork process. We did it all legally, and it was a huge pain in the ass. But if you were an illegal immigrant, just come across and we'll handle the paperwork for you. See how this works? It makes no sense at all. It would overwhelm the public services all across the country, destabilize entire communities. We saw this happening firsthand. And who's behind this shocking shift? A center-right government that's had enough. The Chega party has pushed the government to say enough is enough. Even though Prime Minister Luis Montenegro, he's a social democrat, this move comes to thanks to more of the conservative members like you're seeing right here. This is Andre Ventura of the Chega party. Portugal's new Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, Pedro Duarte, said the quiet part out loud. He said, quote, "It is necessary to put an end to the disorder in immigration." Hallelujah. They're calling this a return to law and order in Portugal. Imagine that. The Portuguese people have simply had enough. Now, under these new rules, only immigrants allowed to seek residency must already have a valid visa before entering the country. No more slipping across the border in broad daylight, because they don't care, and expecting a fast track to legal status. You can go right over the border, right from Spain, come on right in, no problem at all. They wouldn't stop you. Not anymore. It also comes after years of pressure from nationalist movements and everyday Portuguese citizens who watched their neighborhoods transform overnight. Crime spikes, housing shortages, strained welfare systems, all while political class, were lecturing them about compassion and diversity. You're racist if you don't want these random thousands of illegal immigrants coming in from Africa or all over the place. Doesn't matter. They'll lecture you, though.
But, Portuguese citizens, who most of them are on fixed income, are getting squashed from the above and below. So they have wealthy immigrants coming in for this golden visa scam, which is increasing their housing prices. They can't keep up with wealthy immigrants, but they also have it below them, which is social services, which they cannot afford. It's a poor, debt-ridden country, and they're made to shelter the burden of an upper and a lower class while they're just squeezed in the middle. It's awful. Yeah. And that's why they had protests in the streets when their economy collapsed for a blank check to Ukraine, because most of them have adjustable rate mortgages, cannot afford to live in their own country any longer. It's awful.
But of course, you have the communists in Portugal, the far left bloc and communist parties in Portugal have voted against this reform, of course, warning that it would criminalize poverty. But it wouldn't criminalize illegal immigrants coming across the border without legal status. So it's going to criminalize poverty, but not criminalize criminals who are coming across. Okay. Imagine how insane you'd have to be to believe these idiots, communists in Portugal. These communists are retarded. I hope the rest of Portugal starts pushing these commies out of their country. They are destroying Europe. Get them out of Portugal. Now the question is, will this trigger a domino effect across Europe? Will Spain, France, Belgium follow Portugal's lead? We've already seen countries like Italy and Denmark begin to tighten asylum laws. France is battling major unrest. Netherlands has seen its government collapse over immigration policy. Of course, don't expect CNN or the New York Times to give this any serious coverage. CNN Portugal, by the way, is one of the worst, most propagandistic news stations in all of Europe, if not the world. CNN Portugal is awful. And the Portuguese laugh at how bad CNN Portugal is. The Portuguese know that it's propaganda, full on. Now, just read thousands of comments, if you want, underneath when CNN Portugal publishes videos. The Portuguese people know that they are a joke. In fact, they think that they're an export of the United States propaganda machine, and they're right. So Western USAID garbage, pumping a communist vision for Europe and using CNN Portugal as an arm of that. Just watch CNN Portugal's journalist talk about how she's physically ill, that Donald Trump is our president of the United States. Feel bad for her.
Claro. Bom dia, Rita. Bom dia, Francisco. Também aos nossos telespectadores. Deixa-me já fazer aqui disclaimer. Esta voz tem sobretudo a ver, esta voz anasalada tem sobretudo a ver com o abalo que o meu estado de saúde sofreu com a vitória de Donald Trump e com aquilo que tinha sido uma expectativa fomentada.
So she's really upset about it. She's ill. She's physically ill because she's on CNN telling you that. Or this douchebag, this CNN anchor is trying to push fake news about Ukraine. This just happened this week. General Carlos Branco was on the air on CNN Portugal pushing back against the Western lies about what's actually happening in Ukraine. Like, I can't believe this actually happened on CNN Portugal, but he was telling the truth about Russia, and the CNN Portugal anchor just like freaked out, couldn't handle it. He's literally pumping out Western propaganda because he knows who pays his paycheck. Watch this little exchange.
Da Organização de Segurança de Xangai. Porque sempre que ouço, isto é factual, qualquer iniciativa que haja para a Ucrânia, o Sr. General esvazia como ausente de sentido, inconsequente, precipitada, sempre. É a sua linha de raciocínio e de abordagem.
Isso que está a dizer não é correto.
O seu papel tão
o senhor
claro,
está a lucubrar. O senhor está a lucubrar.
Isto é um facto.
É para si.
Podemos fazer um apanhado, todas as suas...
Pode fazer esse apanhado. Eu também faço o apanhado.
It got worse from there.
He's saying you're wrong. You're wrong.
You're wrong.
He doesn't say how. It's incorrecto.
He has a general on there telling him specifically what's going on.
Yeah.
He invites him, and he's supposed to be a journalist.
All he said was no. You're wrong.
No one in that country takes CNN Portugal seriously. Just look at the front page.
The expat groups do. The American expats love them. You know who you are. You know who I'm talking about.
The American expats who just drink wine all day and they don't do anything.
Go to wine lunches. Yeah, they love CNN Portugal. They don't even understand it, but they don't even try to speak Portuguese.
They love propaganda. But anyway,
you can hear what I think of American expats.
Here is the front page of CNN Portugal. No mention of this immigration reform. Like, this is the front page this afternoon. This is arguably one of the biggest stories in the country, but we're not going to cover it. We're going to talk about Donald Trump changing Coca-Cola's recipe. Because the story destroys their narrative that all of Europe welcomes open borders and that pushback is limited to the far right. It's wrong. This is mainstream now. When you have literally socialist Democrats inside of Portugal saying we need to fix this, we're destroying our country. Even socialist Democrats voting alongside of like the Chega Party and other other right-leaning parties. And here's the part that they really don't want you to think about. If Portugal, one of the most progressive countries in Europe, can finally say enough is enough, what's stopping the rest of Europe from doing the very same thing? Portugal, in my opinion, just sent a huge message. And let's hope that others are listening. Let's hope that other countries in Europe are listening. And these globalists get the big middle finger. Let me know what you think about that. And if you're Portuguese, if you understand all of this, let us know, because I think it's incredibly important. All right, maybe take some super chats here in a second. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Connect Invest, because is your money working for you? Well, investing in real estate has never been easier. Savings accounts and CDs offer very low returns, barely keeping up with inflation. The stock market is volatile, unpredictable. One day you're up, next day you're down. Now you can invest in real estate short notes with as little as $500. And the best part is when you sign up and you start investing in real estate short notes with our friends at Connect Invest, you'll get a $50 bonus put right in your account. And all you need to do to learn more about it is just go to redacted.inc/invest to learn about it, because real estate has been one of our favorite ways to build wealth. And usually the barrier is really high. Like if you want to invest in real estate, you're going to put like $30,000, $40,000 down to get a loan to start investing in an income producing property or something like that. Now with Connect Invest, you can do this for as little as $500. And what's unbelievable is if you want to get 9% returns, that's unbelievable. 9% annualized returns on this money. So, maybe you've got $1,000 you want to do. You want to put $500 in to get started, $10,000, whatever you want to do, with annualized returns up to 9%. Yes, you heard me correctly. So just check them out. Go to redacted.inc/invest and sign up for today to get a $50 bonus. Redacted.inc/invest. All right, do we have any super chats? We got a bunch of Rumble rants as well, I believe. Let me see if we got any super chats over here. And don't forget to subscribe. Hope you guys are doing well in the chat room. Richard Yellowhawk says, Ben Shapiro, great Epstein is nothing. There's nothing to see here. What's amazing to me? It's like that Ben Shapiro goes on and says, I'm listening to Naftali Bennett tell me that he was not connected to Mossad at all. So I just trust the former Israeli prime minister, full stop. Like there's nothing to see. There's nothing to see here. Go back to your regularly scheduled program. Okay.
As Glenn Greenwald said, I don't really care what Israel's response is to this. I don't put a lot of stock in their honesty. So that's not really a data point that a journalist should be using. You can listen to it, but be like, okay, where's the proof?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, though, that Ben Shapiro's not a journalist. He's just a commentator.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, what journalism is he doing? He just parrots.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't listen enough to know what his research is like.
Hertzrank says, tell them why you had to leave Portugal, Clayton and Natalie. Because it was on fire? No, we left on it because we wanted to. We were there
because we wanted to, yeah.
We left because we wanted our son to...
We have valid residency still.
Yeah.
We didn't have to leave Portugal.
Go back anytime we want.
We are taxpayers.
Someone said, oh, did Sedera run its course? SDIRAs? No. But, you know, like to invest in like larger properties, I mean, putting like 50,000 down. So with by being able to do that with real estate short notes, it's like an earlier entry. And actually a lot of people that do that end up, you know, graduating and sort of buying like larger properties later on. But a lot of people don't have like that kind of money just sitting around. So it's a great kind of partnership in that way. Yeah, let's see. Let's see here. Do you want to read any of these? Or you?
Sure.
Rusty Strings.
Rusty Strings says, methinks Trump is distracting us from the truth. Yes, it feels like that. Absolutely. Welcome to the Rebel Army, Anthony Goodley and Janice Countess. Thank you for joining. Let's see, what else?
Adstraw Hat says,
Goodley
if you aren't America first,
moderator.
then get the F out. Exactly. I agree with you on that. Exactly.
What were you saying, David?
I said Anthony Goodley's our moderator.
Yeah,
Oh.
Anthony, good to see you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, that was not a, I apologize. I read that wrong. Okay. Those we already saw.
Somewhere in time, $5 super says, the GNSS conference is September 11th through the 15th, 2023. Censor AI. I think this bill mirrors these initiatives from back then in 2023. Huh.
Somebody says, is that a full dress or just the top? It's a dress. Thank you for asking. Also, I cut my hair. Did you notice, Clayton?
Yes, I did. Great haircut.
You
I
cut
took
it or
like
somebody else cut it?
No, somebody else cut it. I took like 2 inches. And nobody's noticed that. Probably the chat room already has, but my husband has not.
I mean, I didn't either, but...
Okay.
The pro-Israel trolls are out today, and good to see you guys as well. Let's see. Portuguzzi says, Portugal's a lot easier to live in financially. Everything is very cheap there, and it's normal to be a Catholic. Beautiful history.
Not anymore. Your appliances are really expensive in Portugal. Water is really expensive. I mean, compared to the rest of Europe, there are, lower prices on meals and things like that. But housing prices have gone up significantly, and so have energy costs. And yeah, it's really squeezing the Portuguese economy, and it's sad to see.
Husbands notice everything. No, I noticed the pretty dress that she was wearing. Didn't I notice that?
Yes.
I just didn't notice the slight haircut, because you always do it differently, so I can't kind of keep up with like...
It's not slight. It's an inch and a half. It's a lot.
That is slight. compared to how long your hair is, that is slight.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. I mean, come on.
Boys?
I'm just saying.
Mac Wallace.
You notice
who's not
Mac Wallace in our
right
chat
now.
says Natalie has given Clayton gray hair. That's probably true. I have gray hair. I have some gray hair, and then I got my hair cut really short last week. And you can see it even more. Someone's like, "Oh, Clayton's going gray," but
I like it.
It's been there.
I like the salt and pepper. It's debonair.
I'm not going to be one of those people that dyes my hair. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, man, was that a dig?
I also have Clayton's giving me some grays too.
Yeah,
I have some.
it's enough to go around. J-Man says, "Hey, your rental advice on your old channel was gold. You helped shape my financial future, my life financially for the better." Thank you, J-Man. I appreciate it.
That's not in past tense. That content exists.
Yeah, our channel still exists there, but we don't do a lot on that channel as much. But it's there, and we've written books on it actually. But I should say our philosophy is just buy real tangible assets. It's buy gold, buy silver, buy real estate, and do it intelligently and get help. Use the bank's money and just keep on, hang on to your own money and start to build real wealth, because they don't teach you that. They don't teach you that in high school. That's certainly how to build wealth. Linda says, Clayton, don't dye your hair. Women love gray hair on men.
They do.
Is that true?
I think so.
Yeah, I've never dyed my hair, but I dyed my beard because I was starting to look like Santa.
Yeah. And to see over here on, it's hard to get these things up on Rumble. But I didn't notice Clayton had facial hair until I put on the TV in my RV. Yeah, I hate shaving with a passion. So I just hate it. So I shaved yesterday.
Have you ever? Yeah. Have you ever tried growing a beard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did once and it was just too itchy. Just like, oh, I mean, maybe at some point I will when I throw in the towel.
Yeah, because once you get past the itching phase, like Michael Hyatt, I don't know if you remember him, but he contacted me and he's like, man, I can't do it because of the itching phase. I was like, give it a week, get past the itching phase, and then it's great. And he did, and now he's had a beard ever since.
And he's happily wearing said beard.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like to stroke it. I just, because you're like, oh, it's a thinking. I like to think.
It is like I pull on my little chin hairs while I think. Like it's just.
Yeah.
It's like a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did that a lot when I had my what David called my 15th century archer look, when I just decided to go like the full
Monty. I could definitely see that. I could see if you had like a hood and a bow and arrow, you'd be like right out of medieval times. I could see that.
It was
for sure.
kind of a Van Dyke beard but I let the goatee grow fairly long, and I loved just like pulling it all the time.
Somebody in Rumble says, chinny chin chin.
Vidar, the itchy phase sucks. In our chat says, yeah, I like to stroke it. That's right. Glad you picked up on that joke. Spicy Clayton, that's right. Beard oil. I did like the beard oil because you could get some of the nice what is it called? Like the cedar, what's the one I'm thinking of?
Pine.
Not pine, but the cedar, the smoke. What's the name of that one? Somebody in the chat will let us know. It's like
sandalwood.
It's like a man. Was it? What is it?
Sandalwood.
Sandalwood. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Somebody's saying, this got boring, I'm out. Okay, we're just shooting the breeze now. So
we're kibitzing.
We're just kibitzing on a Thursday afternoon. So I just want to say thanks to all of you guys for subscribing, being a part of our community here. So we're watching very closely what happens with this Epstein stuff today. If you're joining us late, I'll just sort of, go back on what we were talking about, waiting for this news. I'm not sure if it broke while we were sitting here a few minutes ago or not. But a major publication is about to publish some Epstein information as it relates to Mossad, and you'll get to see all of the pro-Israeli influencers ignore the story, of course, or tell you that you're an idiot for paying attention to it. So we'll be watching that closely, but it hasn't published yet. So we are waiting to see if that's going to happen here shortly. And according to our sources, that story is not about Trump and Epstein. It's specifically about Epstein and Israel and Mossad intelligence. So we will see which publication this is. It's supposed to be a major media publication. We'll see. Is it the New York Times? Is it the Wall Street Journal? We will see. All right. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, being a part of our show here. We really appreciate it. And we will be back on next week live at 4 p.m. Eastern time is when we do this show. We'll have content for you this weekend as well. Some great interviews. A big one coming up tomorrow, actually, with 9/11 firefighters. You do not want to miss this interview. We had them in the studio to talk about Building 7 specifically and all of the new evidence surrounding that. They're trying to get a congressional hearing on this. And Senator Ron Johnson is open to it. So hopefully this information that you see tomorrow will also make it into the congressional record. So that will be publishing tomorrow here on the channel. So please subscribe, set those bell notifications, and we'll see you real soon. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.